Good early afternoon. We are live. You joined us on the Blue Plate Special. I'm your host. I'm Andy Andrews, and I don't know what else I was going to say. We're here at Wisdom Harbor Studios. I'm laughing because we're just having fun back there, and you should have been there. My son is out there, my oldest son, and he turned 25 today, so happy birthday to Austin. Also, happy birthday to Tina Morris up in Nashville. Tina and Philip, my management team, and they had a lot to manage with me. I just oh my gosh, But we're glad you guys are here today. Matt's fiance is here, and she just gave Austin probably the best present a 25-year-old could ever get. It's like this spray of candy and drink, and it's just incredible. So what are you guys doing? It's Thursday. It's
well, Andy, you're about to say it's Thursday. It's Wisdom Harbor Day, but I have some news.
Okay.
I have accidentally started the stream on our Tuesday feed. So it's
everybody.
It's everybody.
Wow.
It's a good day for it.
Yeah, it is a good day. We've got a good show for everybody. Yeah, usually we only do this on Thursdays for the Wisdom Harbor Bunch, and that goes to schools and businesses all over America. Wisdom Harbor, where our stated goal is to create America's next greatest generation by creating conversations between adults and young people. And we're getting a good lick at it. It's a lot of fun. And if you're not part of Wisdom Harbor, if you're just on here today and thought, wow, what's going on? We're glad to have you. Marcy Crosser Taylor, Heather Olson, so good to see you. Happy birthday, Austin. And one day you will get to see Austin perform. So, Emily Isbell, how do I say your last name? Cavaluzzi? Is it Cavaluzzi? Little M is married. That just still seems weird to me. I see these pictures on Instagram, Little M, of you kissing a guy, and I'm like, who is she kissing? She's too young to be kissing somebody. And then I realized, no, she's married. So anyway, Little M, it's great to see you. Also, Matt has a couple of scripts for you whenever you can get by Wisdom Harbor. Dina Kilpatrick, happy birthday, Austin. Yep. Night Award, or is it Nita, watching from Grove, Oklahoma. I always look forward to the Blue Plate Specials. Oklahoma beat Auburn last week. Not a huge surprise. Not a huge surprise. Judy Atkinson from Tennessee. I'm glad to have you here. It's kind of clouding up out there today. It has been sunny for several days, and now it's kind of cloudy. I think we're going to get a little rain, and then it's going to get sunny again for several days. How many more days till the election? I hate to even bring that up. It's like 30 days or something, I think. 31 days. 31 days? Yeah. Whew, I hate to even bring it up. Hey, if you want a different take on the election than you've seen, if you're like me, it's like I'm tired of watching all of them. It's like, good grief. And I my question is, if suddenly somebody appeared in your living room from 200 years ago, just from 200 years in the past, and they just suddenly appeared in your living room, what do you think you'd have a harder time explaining? The internet, or how after 200 years, the best we could come up with is these two? But anyway, if you want a new perspective on it, Dave Ramsey, who is a friend of ours, Dave put the word out like 30 days ago to Trump and to Harris, said, hey, would love to interview both of you, or, interview you. He didn't send it in the same email, but he put out the offer to both of them that, if you'd like to talk, I'd like to talk. And so Harris, evidently that's still under advisement, but Trump said, yeah, come on up. And so Dave went to New York. Let's see, what is today? Today's Thursday. Dave went to New York last Friday and sat down with him for an hour and a half. And, when I was talking to Dave said, yeah, who knows if it's going to be anything new, but, we'll see. And I don't even think Dave knows what he did, because I just watched it today, and I'm going to call Dave this afternoon and say, dude, do you know what you did on this interview? Because he told me when he got out, he said, yeah, kind of same stuff. And so I thought, yeah, well, okay. Okay. I mean, you kind of expect at this point, the same stuff. I mean, how can you say anything different? And I'm tired of hearing the same stuff. I mean, I'm just tired of it. But I watched this, and Dave is a financial genius, and he understands all the economic stuff. And so he in this interview, he kept interrupting Trump, which that's a shock, isn't it? I mean, interrupt a guy who interrupts. But he kept interrupting Trump to ask a question and to clear up some, now, do you mean this or do you mean this? That whole interview is filled with perspective, and it's filled with stuff that I didn't really understand. Like he was talking to him about taxes, and he said, Trump said, we're going to lower the taxes from this rate to this rate. And he's starting on that same roll that he's been on. And Dave said, now hang on just a second. So you're lowering the taxes for billionaires and as well as everybody. And Trump said, well, yeah, you have to include everybody. And Dave said, now, when you lower taxes, that doesn't mean, when you lower taxes from 39% to 21%, that doesn't mean I put the money in my pocket. That means I'm able to hire more people. And Trump said, right. And I was like, okay, I did not get that. I mean, I had not really understood that, I guess. But there's just so many things in that interview. I wish that Harris would let Dave interview her. I would just love, because he just understands so much. And, at one point he said to Trump, no, I don't know if you could say that because of so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And Trump goes, well, that's true. And so, I was just like, yeah, it was great. Anyway, Dana Kilpatrick says, cheer me up, Andy. Oh, and I know why you need cheering up. And I'm so sorry, Dina. And we will definitely cheer you up. Gomer says, hey, Martin Simmons. Judith Smith from Tennessee, sitting and watching, making a basket for an event. Making a basket. Are you making it out of reeds or what? Juanita all day. Happy birthday and blessings to Austin. Shanda Danner. I think a lot of people are piling in that are like, what? This is happening on Thursday? So we're getting them all over. But you guys need to, if you haven't subscribed to Wisdom Harbor, you need to subscribe. It's $27 a year, and you got tons and tons of stuff. Today, though, we're in the middle of October, or the 1st of October. This is Halloween month, and so I think you saw, it was yesterday that Frankenstein came out, right?
That's right.
The bet you didn't know?
In other words.
Yeah. With Wisdom Harbor, for those of you who don't know, the content barge comes out, or the content barge lands every Wednesday and Saturday with new material. And one of the things we do is called In Other Words, and it's explaining history or literature, something that somebody said or something that somebody wrote. Like, everybody knows to be or not to be, that is the question. And everybody recognizes that. Most people know that's Shakespeare. Fewer people know it's Hamlet. And even fewer people know what he was talking about when he said it. And so we've got that little clip in there, and then we go, in other words, what he was saying was, and so it's all done very funny. And yesterday, the Content Bards delivered one on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And so that's a great one. So today, Wanda Parsons from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, today we are going to do 7 haunted landmarks. 7 haunted landmarks from America. I'm going to tell you why they're haunted. Terry Rowland from Oklahoma. And number 1 on the list, and so, you probably don't even know these are haunted. You've probably been to a bunch of these, and you don't even know that they're haunted. And so we're going to tell you that they are. And I'm going to tell you why. Number 1 on the list is the Smithsonian Institute. Okay, now, the Smithsonian, with more than 155 million artifacts in its collections, the Smithsonian is called America's Attic. And with 155 million artifacts, some of them got to be haunted. Some of them just got to be. And it turns out that whole America's Attic thing really might be haunted. There's been many nights that watchmen in the early part of the 20th century especially claimed to see unidentifiable figures and heard ghostly footsteps echoing in the halls. But some of the Smithsonian's ghostly residents are recognizable. They've been recognized as former members of the Smithsonian staff. One is the spirit of Dr. Emil Bessels, who is an Arctic explorer who accompanied Charles Francis Hall's unsuccessful expedition to the North Pole in 1871, who was accused of poisoning Hall with arsenic. So you got a poisoner roaming the halls. Other recognizable phantoms have included Fielding Meek, who was a paleontologist who worked and lived at the Smithsonian, Joseph Henry, the Institute's first secretary, Spencer Fullerton Baird, its first curator, however it would be. And even the British founder of the Institute, James Smithson, who left his entire fortune to establish the Smithsonian in Washington. And so if ghosts really exist at the Smithsonian, Smithson would be the most likely candidate because his corpse has been kept at the museum since 1904. In fact, he was seen so often. Now this just kills me because this is kind of modern. His body was seen so often that they disinterred him in 1973. He'd been in a box, and they took him out in 1973 because of these ghostly sightings. And officially, the Institute said they just wanted to do a complete study of the contents of the casket, including his skeleton, which was still inside, not outside, wandering the halls scaring people. It was still in there. So, but Smithsonian Institute, haunted. The 155 million artifacts, they're probably haunted in ways they don't even know. I mean, they have Fonzie's jacket in there. They have Archie Bunker's chair, Archie and Edith's chair. They have Judy Garland's ruby slippers. They've got a lot of stuff. And after Henry Winkler dies, that would be wild to be wandering through the Smithsonian and hear, hey. We were watching Arrested Development the other night. Have you ever seen that? That is a weird show. I don't really know if I like that or not.
Yeah, it's very straight. It's very like almost slapstick, sort of
Yeah,
off the wall.
It's weird. And I'm sitting there listening to it and I'm going, is that Ron Howard narrating that? And it is. But it's weird. It's not often that I watch something that I think, how did somebody write that? You know, because I can kind of dissect and kind of think, yeah, okay, I could have done so. But I don't know how anybody wrote that. It's so off the wall. It's just bizarre. But anyway, Henry Winkler plays an attorney in that. And I mean, I've seen like 3 episodes in my life, but I laughed out loud because he was talking to somebody in the bathroom, in a men's bathroom. And then, you know, there was something going on and then they left and he washed his hands and turned in the mirror and took his comb out and went, and I thought, wow, that is great. I love it when one show pays tribute to another. Okay, here's another haunted landmark, and that is the Hollywood sign. Now, you'll notice in our picture that at first it was a Hollywood Land sign. That's what it was, Hollywood Land. And Peg Entwistle was an up-and-coming actress on Broadway in the 1920s. And when she tried to make the transition to Hollywood in 1932, it didn't work. She was just another pretty face. And after a single film role, her prospects dried up and she was out of work. And on September 16th, 1932, Entwistle told her family she was going for a walk. It would be the last time anybody ever saw her alive. Be the last time anybody saw her alive. She traveled up the scrubby ridge to the Hollywood Land sign there in the Hollywood Hills, where she took off her coat and her shoes and put her purse on the ground, and she climbed a maintenance ladder to the top of the H, where she jumped and went 50 feet to the ground below. Her body and her belongings, including a suicide note, were discovered 2 days later. Since that time, the land has been moved from the Hollywood sign. It's just Hollywood now. But the spirit of Peg Entwistle apparently still hangs around. A park ranger, John Arbogast, claims to have seen her ghost many times, usually in the middle of very foggy nights. Now see, that foggy night thing, that's like, is that a bush? No, that's Peg. That's Peg. How can you tell with the fog? Well, can't you see her arms, head? Well, now it looks like a bush, but that's just Peg looking like a bush. Okay, so anyway, he sees her on foggy nights, but he also claims to smell gardenias, which was Peg Entwistle's favorite scent. And he smells these gardenias in an area where there's no flowers and no flowers in bloom. In 1990, a man and his girlfriend were hiking near the sign when their dog suddenly began whining and backing away from the trail. And the couple soon saw a blonde woman in a white 1930s style dress walking toward them. Now, I got to stop right there and say, I don't know what a 1930s style dress would look like. I mean, so when the police are asking them later, what did you, well, she was in a 1930s style dress. How would you know that? I mean, how do you know it's not a 1920s style dress or a 1940s? How would you know it's a 1930s style dress? But anyway, they said they saw a 1930s style dress woman walking toward them, and she looked confused and disoriented. So the couple tried to steer clear of her, but then she suddenly vanished before their eyes. And they claimed to have been unaware of Entwistle's suicide at the time of the sighting. Ooh, Okay. All right. Let's move on to Liberty Island. Bet you didn't know the Statue of Liberty was haunted. Actually, it's the island. Since 1886, Liberty Island has been the home to the Statue of Liberty. But earlier in its history, it was known as Bedloe's Island, and it was reportedly a favorite spot for Captain Kidd to bury his treasure. Captain Kidd evidently went to Bedloe's Island. It's just a little, I mean, look at the picture. It's a little island. And so I don't know how, if you find out Captain Kidd's buried treasure, how do you not dig up every stick of that? I mean, it's not like it was some 20-mile long island. Where do we dig? I mean, you dig up every bit of that. Anyway, as reported by the New York Times in 1892, two soldiers named Gibbs and Carpenter were stationed at Fort Wood. Now, Fort Wood is the military installation that was on Bedloe's Island, and it would later form the pedestal for the Statue of Liberty. So, hoping to get rich, this dynamic duo snuck out of their bunks to dig for treasure at a location that had been told them by a psychic. See, this is already getting weird to me. You know, I mean, you got this little bitty island, you could dig anywhere, but some psychic tells them this is where psychics freak me out anyway. You know, I mean, the psychic network, do you remember when there was a psychic network? Julie, do you remember? You remember that? See, and they went out of business. You think they just seen that coming, don't you? Okay, so a psychic told them where to dig. Then somewhere after midnight, the entire fort was awakened by this blood-curdling scream, and as guards ran in the direction of the noise, they encountered a hysterical private carpenter who led them to the dig site where Private Gibbs was unconscious. And they said that they had only dug a few feet down when they found a wooden box. But just as they were about to claim their fortune, an otherworldly creature appeared. Now, Gibbs described it as a demon. He said it had blackened skin, horns on its head, giant wings, and a barbed tail. Sounds like a demon to me. But I mean, you know, if I'm seeing horns and black skin and wings, I'm not looking real close to see if there's barbs on the tail. So that part of it kind of, that kind of does it for me. But Carpenter said it had red skin, didn't have wings, and it moved about without any visible form of locomotion. What are those things, those two-wheel things that you see people riding on?
Segway?
Yeah, Segway. So he was probably on a Segway, back and forth. And they just couldn't see the Segway, but he was like no visible form of locomotion. But anyway, Carpenter ran away. But Gibbs had remained frozen in terror, and he claimed it was the spirit of Captain Kidd. It wasn't a demon, it was the spirit of Captain Kidd, and that Captain Kidd breathed sulfur in his face and then threw him into the bay. The guards didn't see any wooden box or any demon pirate, so apparently Captain Kidd took his treasure with him when he disappeared into the ether. But to this day, visitors to the Statue of Liberty all see, no, not really. I don't think they've seen anything since then. But good story, huh? For the Statue of Liberty. By the way, did you know that the Statue of Liberty, the guy who built the Statue of Liberty, talk about being intricate. He put hair grooves on the, you know, like she's wearing the thing, but there's grooves, there's hair on the top of her, which is amazing when you consider that when she was built, there were no airplanes. I mean, he didn't have any idea that anybody would see the top of her head. But that's just a Statue of Liberty story. It's not that her hair is haunted or anything. Just a little extra for you. Okay, here's another haunted landmark. Alcatraz. Okay, now, I've been in the Smithsonian. I've been in Statue of Liberty. And I can't say that I saw any ghosts there or even thought there might be ghosts there. But I've been to Alcatraz. And if somebody said, I just saw a ghost behind you, I'd go, okay, let's get out of here. Because that is a creepy place, man. Thousands of inmates passed through Alcatraz. And it had a 100-year history as a military stockade and a federal prison that housed some of America's most dangerous criminals. And thanks to the isolation of the island, as well as the guards' sometimes brutal treatment of prisoners, many of these prisoners took their own lives, while others were killed by other inmates. And with so much blood staining the rock, it should probably come as no surprise that ghosts roam Alcatraz today. One haunted area is cell 14D, and that was one of the solitary confinement cells known as the Hole. And there, prisoners were stripped naked, thrown into a small dark room, and were kept completely isolated for up to 19 days. All right, now I've got to just like call a pause right there. I mean, that's the story. I mean, I did the research, and they were kept in there for up to 19 days. And that just like screams out at me that somebody's making that up. Because when you make something up, you make it so detailed that nobody would question it. And so how would they decide on 19 days? Hey, we're going to put you in solitary for 19 days. Why not 21? Why not 15? Why not 18? Why not 2 weeks? 19 days? That just seems weird. Anyway, by the time they came out, so the story goes, many of them suffered permanent psychological damage. In the 1940s, an inmate in cell 14D screamed throughout the night that something with glowing red eyes was in there with him, and that it had a barbed tail. No, I just made the barbed tail part up. Just the red eyes. But the next morning, the cell was finally quiet, so the guards unlocked 14D to check on the prisoner. Inside, they found his body, strangled to death. An autopsy later revealed that his wounds could not have been self-inflicted. It's also been said that one of the Rock's most infamous guests, Al Capone, never really left, as late-stage syphilis ate his brain. Now, how would you like to have that as a memory? You know, for somebody in your family. You know, how's Uncle Nestor? Well, you know, he died, and as late-stage syphilis ate his brain. I mean, I can't think anything creepier than that. But anyway, that's Capone. As late-stage syphilis ate his brain, Capone began to be more paranoid, and he feared that other inmates were going to kill him during the weekly recreation period in the prison yard. So Capone asked for and received special permission. This is so weird to me. Capone, let me back up. As late-stage syphilis ate his brain, Capone asked for and received special permission to practice playing his banjo in the prison shower room instead. Since the island became part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area in 1972, many park rangers have reported hearing the sound of a banjo coming from the room, often near the end of the workday after all the tourists have gone. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, I mean, that gives a whole new meaning to I hear banjo music. Whew. All right, here you go. The Empire State Building. Bet you didn't know that was haunted, but anything that's been there a long time is liable to be haunted. I mean, Wisdom Harbor Studios, we've only been here 5 years. After 10 years, I think we ought to be haunted. We ought to have something haunted here after 10 years. Maybe Cornelius, our corn plant. Cornelius can be our haunt. We had a corn plant here, and he has since died. And you know, I come in here before daylight some mornings. What if I see a corn plant wandering around in this place? I think maybe that could be on the tourist trail for Orange Beach. A haunted studio. Cornelius, the corn plant, wanders. Anyway, all right, the Empire State Building. Now, sadly, the Empire State Building has seen its share of deaths in its almost 100-year history. There are many stories of people who have seen ghostly figures recreating their last plunge from the skyscraper's observation deck. But one of these stories stands above the rest. This was in 1985 now. And I don't know when they built it. Like, I've been to the Empire State Building, and I don't know when they put that fence up on the observation deck, but it's a fence that it goes up and it goes over and has spikes. I mean, you couldn't climb it if you had to. And so I don't know when they put that on there, but I guess it's probably after the 500th person just jumped over and went. But I guess, I don't know. But in 1985, a tourist went to the observation deck to get a bird's eye view of all of New York City. And while she was there, she met a woman dressed in 1940s style clothes. Okay, again, what did you see? Well, she was in 1940s style clothes. How the crap do you know? How do you know what year? I mean, how do you know? No, I saw her too, and I thought it was 1930s style clothes. But I don't know. Anyway, she said she saw a woman in 1940s style clothes crying into her handkerchief. When she asked her what was wrong, the woman said that her husband died in the war in Germany. Obviously distraught, she said she couldn't live without him. So she walked through the fence that surrounds the deck and disappeared over the edge. So this woman, in 1985, she's shaken by what she's seen, right? So she went into the bathroom to splash water on her face. And when she looked up in the mirror, suddenly the same woman was next to her at the sink, touching up her makeup in the mirror. And the tourist followed her out to the observation deck where she said, "My husband died in Germany and I can't live without him." And she walked through the fence and jumped again. And before the woman could get on the elevator to go down, the woman showed up again and walked through the fence again. In 1940s style clothes. The Statue of Liberty. And the Empire State Building. Two tall things in New York City, both haunted. All right, Wrigley Field. How about Wrigley Field? Is the most haunted ballpark in the country. Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs. And one of the best known ghost stories is retold by security guards who have heard the telephone in the bullpen ring in the middle of the night. But it's not a wrong number because the phone is a direct line to the dugout. What am I hearing? What was that, Matt? Could y'all hear that out there? I was hearing some ghostly thing. I'm telling you, I was hearing something. Maybe it was Cornelius. I don't know. Anyway, the security guards in Wrigley Field say they've heard. I didn't make that up. I'm telling you, I heard some voices, and it sounded to me like they were wearing 1930s style clothes. But these security guards in Wrigley Field hearing the bullpen phone ring in the middle of the night. But it's not a wrong number because the phone's a direct line from the dugout, which they say is haunted by the spirit of Charlie Grimm, a Cubs manager in the 1930s and 40s. Is there something about the 30s and 40s? I mean, we've got a recurring theme here. But he was a manager, and some guards have even claimed they've seen Charlie Grimm in the hallways, but as soon as they speak to him, he disappears. But why would Grimm still be haunting Wrigley after all these years? Maybe it's because his ashes are buried in left field. Baseball fans also say that they have spotted the famed broadcaster Harry Carey in the press box and in the outfield bleachers ever since his death in 1998. They've seen Harry Carey. Holy cow. They've seen Harry Carey. And it's rumored that his ashes are buried under home plate. And finally, I've scared myself. Finally, the Golden Gate Bridge. San Francisco. Now, Golden Gate Bridge, can you see Alcatraz from the Golden Gate Bridge? Yeah, yeah. It didn't occur to me when I was putting these together, but now it occurs to me that I've been to all 7 of these places. And perhaps that's why I heard these ghostly voices wearing 1930s outfits in here a minute ago. Okay, San Francisco Bay, the Bay Bridge. The whole bay, the San Francisco Bay's ghostly past goes back to well before the bridge was constructed. The bridge was constructed in 1937. But think of this, 1937, a 1930s bridge. Okay. In 1853, the steamship Tennessee ran aground at a spot that has since been named Tennessee Cove. Fortunately, 550 passengers and 14 chests of gold all made it safely ashore before the waters of the Pacific tore the ship apart. Since then, however, there have been many reports of a ghostly, antique ship passing under the Golden Gate Bridge before disappearing into the fog. Perhaps the most famous sighting occurred in November of 1942 when the crew of the USS Kinnison, the whole crew, claimed to have floated right past the Tennessee, so close that the Kinnison crew could see the Tennessee written on the bow, and they could all see that the ship's decks were unmanned. And the Tennessee was said, the Kinnison crew said that the Tennessee left no wake as it passed, nor did it show up on the Kinnison's radar. Okay. Wow. So, those are the 8 haunted places in America. I'm including Wisdom Harbor, number 8, with the ghost of a corn plant that wanders around here. That's all just pretty creepy. You ever seen a ghost? Ever seen a real ghost? You know, when I was a kid, I used to love Casper. But Casper was a friendly ghost. Do you remember what his mean friends were named? It was the Ghostly Trio, and one of them was named Fatso. Couldn't do that today. I'd like to find a Casper comic book, like a modern, and I wonder what they call Fatso. Are they still printing Casper? Probably not. His girlfriend was Wendy, and he had a cousin named Spooky. Do you remember that? Wonder what they're haunting today. You know, there's a creepy graveyard right here in Orange Beach. If you go right out here outside the wharf, if you go out Main Street, take a left, and just keep going, and you go past 161. That's where Doc's Oyster Bar is. Go past 161, go on past Sam's Stop and Shop, the tackle store, and it's right around the fire station that's on the right there, up in Orange Beach, and it's around a curve, and you see it's got one of those things over it. You know what I'm talking about? Those metal, you know what I'm talking about? It's like an arbor or something, and it's off to the right, and it's off the road a little bit. You can see it from the road, and you can just pull in there and park and walk around in there. That's a creepy cemetery. I mean, I'm just saying, if you like that kind of stuff. I wonder if Cornelius shows up down there. Probably not, because we didn't bury him. We just got to throw him in the trash, which is probably why he's mad. It's probably why he's roaming around here. It's probably why he's mad. He died and we threw him in the trash. It said, Heather Olson says she's never seen a ghost, but a grandparent said there was one that moved with them from Colorado to Utah, and his name was Sam. He liked to open and close cupboards. No. Wouldn't that be the worst? To have a ghost in your house that opens and closes cupboards, and you're saying, we're getting out of here. I mean, we're getting out of here. And you move to another state, and the ghost goes with you. Oh, my God. Anyway, it's Halloween month, and who knows what we'll be talking about next. Shanda Danner. Poor Corny. Y'all did him wrong. Yeah, we probably did. You know, if he'd have been a goldfish, we'd have flushed him down the toilet, but he was a little too big for that. A little too big. Marcy Crosser Taylor says she loved Casper too. Felt sorry for him. I kind of felt sorry for him too. He was the only good guy. Wendy was good. Wendy, the good witch. She wore red. She was blind. The spook light near Miami, Oklahoma is haunting. I don't know about the spook light. We'll check on that. And yeah, it's Miami, Oklahoma, not Miami. And it's like New Madrid, Missouri. It's not New Madrid. It's New Madrid. Wanda Parsons said her grandson at 3 saw 2 ghosts, and they lived close to a Civil War battlefield. Their names were Bobby and Charlie. Marcy Crosser Taylor says, what's the symbol on your shirt? Who cares what the symbol is on my shirt? A 3-year-old saw a ghost named Bobby and Charlie. I mean, that would freak me out. My 3-year-old, I've been outside talking to Bobby and Charlie. Who are Bobby and Charlie? I don't know. You can see right through them. Wouldn't that freak you out? I mean, a 3-year-old? What is the symbol on my shirt? Oh, this is the logo for Vortex. Vortex is an optics company. They're American made. They make incredible optics, binoculars, spotting scopes, scopes for rifles, range finders. They're based in Wisconsin, and I'm just telling you, when I got my first Vortex pair of binoculars, Austin, who years ago got a pair of Swarovskis, which, Swarovskis have been seen for years as the top of the line. Austin looked through my Vortex and he said, I don't see any difference. And they cost less than Swarovskis, but Vortex are top of the line, and they're made in America. Judy Hess, where are you going? You're on your way to sing in North Carolina. So Jonathan and Joyce and Judy that's the Martins, you guys. I don't know if you don't know who the Martins are. You need to go on YouTube as soon as we get through here and look up the Martins. I mean, they are unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the Dove Awards were the other night. Did you guys win a Dove Award? Another Dove Award. You've won so many. But anyway, you're going to sing in North Carolina tonight. I wish I was there. Bob Woodall, Miss Carla here. Creepy, but Pickens County Courthouse has a girl in the window. Pickens County in Alabama. A girl in the window. Can you see her all the time? I mean, because if you can see her all the time, I'm thinking just like something in the glass. Okay, but if it's like, hey, come on, let's go down to the courthouse, see if the girl's in the window. No, she's not there. No, she's not there. And then, one day you go down and you have a milkshake and, there she is. Come here, look. And then, no, she's gone. I mean, now that's a girl in the window. Wanda Parsons said that Bobby and Charlie lived in my daughter's house and visited the kid often until they moved. My daughter found him crying one day at the foot of the bed. She asked him what was wrong. He said Bobby and Charlie told him they couldn't go with him when they moved. Well, now at least that's a polite ghost. It's like you're not going to go with them. I'm not going to move to Utah and slam your cupboard doors all night. Sorry, kid. We're going to have to stay here at our Civil War battlefield. That's creepier to me than Cornelius. I mean, that's pretty creepy. A 30-year-old Bobby and Charlie. I mean, how do you explain that? I don't know. Whew. Who is this? Who's this? Tell me this. Christy Cordy said the car GPS can detect spirits approaching vehicles. Heather Olson says, my car always picks up something in front of my car while at a certain stoplight. Janet, but here we go. We're going now. We got people coming in with all kind of ghost stories. Janet Road Cemetery here in Michigan. A car in neutral rolls uphill in the cemetery. I want to visit that cemetery. That seems pretty creepy. Oh my gosh. Anybody seen a girl in a prom dress with a golden arm? Remember that? Who stole my golden arm? I remember one time, now around here, there's a story of Catman. Okay, there's Catman Trail right down here off of 161, and you can walk on it. And after Hurricane Ivan, we were in a in a rental house. We were out of our house for 2 years after Hurricane Ivan, and we were in a rental house, and the boys were probably 5 and 3, and I had been out of town, and I came home, and Polly was telling me, she said, I was telling the boys about tall tales. And I said, oh. And she said, yeah, we learned about Sasquatch. We learned about Paul Bunyan. That's a tall tale. And the hairy man. I said, now, what is the hairy man? She said, the hairy man's what we used to see in Mississippi. Mississippi tall tale. And I said, well, you guys have heard about Catman, hadn't you? Like, oh. And so they were sleeping in another room that had bunk beds, and Polly and I are in the master bedroom of this little rental house, and so we were all up on this bed, and boys in their little footy pajamas, and I said, you guys have heard about Catman, hadn't you? No, sir, we hadn't. Oh, well, let me tell you about Catman. I said, you know the park, that part of the park that has that's real dark at night and has the trees going over it with that moss coming down. You know how we go and it curves through the state park? I said, yes, sir. Well, this was years ago, and there was a boy and his girlfriend, and they were on a date, and they were going through that park, and they ran out of gas, and they pulled off the side of the road, and you know how dark it is in there. Yes, sir. And it was a little bit of wind, and that moss was kind of, and that moss was kind of touching the car where they pulled off the road. And the boy said, now you stay in the car. I'm going to walk up here. I'm going to walk up here to the BP station. And you guys know where Daniels BP station is in Gulf Shores. Yes, sir. You know, so he was going to walk up to Daniels BP station and get some gas. And he told his girlfriend, he said, just stay here and I'll be back as soon as I can. And so he went walking down, and you know how dark it is. Yes, sir. And so when he got out of sight, she was in the car by herself, and she heard meow. And she thought, what is that? She listened again, and she heard again, meow. And she thought, it's a little kitty. It's a little kitty. And she thought, is this little kitty lost out here in this dark place? Meow. And she thought, I might need to rescue this kitty. And so she opened the door, and she turned around to look, because it sounded like the kitty cat was on top of the car. And she turned around, and when she turned around, and I did that, and the boys went, and Austin goes, I knew you were going to do that. They both just came unglued. I mean, they came unglued. And I mean, crying, screaming. And of course, I'm laughing. And Polly's mad. You know, she's mad at me. And I mean, they came unglued. I said, well, I just thought y'all wanted to hear the story of Catman. You know, so, because now people walk through there and it's still, Catman's still roaming around. And, don't tell us anymore. Don't tell us anymore, Daddy. Don't. Anyway, they wouldn't go in their room. They wouldn't go in the room. So Polly had to put a pallet on the floor at the bottom of our bed. And so, you know, we finally get everybody settled down. And the light in the bathroom has to stay on. I mean, we finally get everybody settled down. Good night, I love you, I love you. You know, finally get everybody quiet. And when it got real quiet, I went, meow. It started all over again. But we were in that rental house for a year, and they slept at the foot of our bed every night for a year. And every time I would complain about it, Polly would go, well, it's your fault. It's your fault. That's my personal ghost story. Okay. All right. That's it for today. And we're not doing this next week, are we? We might have something for you, but we're out. We're all out. And so you're on your own. Unless you subscribe to Wisdom Harbor. Then you'll have plenty to watch. All right. See you soon.